What are the best practices to implement AI banking projects fast?
Starting from the business is very important, and to define the pain points that should be solved by a company. After that, it's very useful to organize workshops connected with going a bit more into details when it comes to what is the problem and what data do we have already within the bank, which might be useful to solve this element. Of course, then we can decide about the data scope, we can anonymize the data, and to start working on machine learning models. Of course, usually there is a lot of effort connected with integration of those data into one data lake. Like Alex said, to Arango is a very good tool for such elements. However, we can always work in two streams. From one point of view, integration can be done, but from the other point of view, ML engineers do not need the whole integration to be done to prepare machine learning models. So usually we cooperate this way that we can get some data even in Excel or CSV file, and it's far enough to start working on machine learning model. So it's very useful because it's possible to deliver machine learning model, and the bank can test the model before the final decision whether to go to integration and whether to invest in IT infrastructure and the project itself. Of course, there are machine learning models that can be checked, the accuracy, like transaction classification, because it's the supervised learning. So we can check if machine learning models is assigning those categories properly. But there are also some models like product recommendation. Of course, we cannot verify by human if the recommendations are made properly. But even if we have such recommendation in Excel file, we can use it for contact center. We can distribute some recommendations to advisors, and this can be also verified, let's say, without integration in the first phases. And after that, the bank is sure that the quality of the model is appropriate, that it's bringing value, it's much easier to prepare a business case and to make decision about the integration and establishing all infrastructure needed. Of course, always the bank needs to take decision how to deal with the project. And what are the ways? One way is to build in-house team. And it means that the bank built a team consisting of people responsible for architecture, for databases, ML engineers, data scientists, and architects. And the bank needs to gather all those people within one team. Of course, the biggest benefit of such approach is that the bank has full control over the project and over the software that is delivered, including IP rights and so on. However, there are also some disadvantages of such approach, like time needed to build a team, internal cost to maintain the team, and usually the models, the elements are built from scratch. There is also another way to acquire AI platforms, and usually those platforms are very broad solutions, enabling to use different models. And they have many features, but they also have some disadvantages because usual implementation of such platforms is taking time, and very often it's impossible to achieve quickly. Another way is to pick a solution. So it means that to pick a vendor who is able to align elements with bank existing infrastructure and bank needs. Usually, this is especially when it comes to modern solution based on microservice architecture. It's possible to, for example, pick just only parts connected with data lake, only particular machine learning models, or just MLOps elements. So it's always is a decision of a bank which of those approaches is the most relevant and in line with business case. However, if the bank is deciding to cooperate with external company, usually bank have to keep in mind different elements that should be analyzed carefully before entering into such cooperation. When it comes to business aspect, already mentioned. When it comes to people, bank need to look at the technologies that are offered and look about existing resources when it comes to the banks, because even if vendor is delivering solution, someone will need to maintain this solution, but always availability of such resources on the market, but also the time to build internal competencies. And from our example, when we started cooperating with Arango, we didn't have engineers who were experts when it comes to Arango, but the database, the entrance into this technology wasn't very high, and we were capable to have a team of strong people, strong specialists in Arango in a relatively short time. So it's also important to look at those elements when you are picking technology. And when you are considering a vendor, also you need to consider elements like domain knowledge. Some companies are specializing in e-commerce, in retail, some in banks, and usually those companies who are expert in particular domains know the business scenario connected with a particular domain, know requirements concerning security, compliance, and so on. Another thing is experience of the vendor when it comes to delivering a similar solution, experience within machine learning, and so on. And from my perspective, maybe the most important element is time to market. So the ability to deliver result very quickly without long time of implementation and spending 6 months or even 12 months during implementation. And in this period of the time, the business needs can change differently, and the solution can be delivered. Solution cannot be in line with current needs. And of course, technical infrastructure is crucial. And here again, I would pass a voice to Alex.
Thank you, Michal. This is the technical infrastructure is a key element in such a project. You need to make sure that you have an easy way to organize your data and be able to question this data in a really simple manner. And therefore, unstructured data are really easy ways of doing that because you can integrate any type of data using a different type of technologies. You can have data coming from relational database, from flat files, from different systems that you can easily organize into collections of documents and collections of relationships between these documents. Since there might be this will represent a lot of data, the way you organize your system is usually by running that at scale and having large clusters that will handle that sort of data lake, in which, thanks to AQL query language from Arango, you'll be able to address the different models using a single query language, no matter if it's document, you want to do some documents, some graph traversals, or some search approach, or even some more complex pre-GIL algorithm. And to integrate the data within that system, it's going to be fairly simple, because some will be simple connectors from one data source to another. Some will be maybe more sophisticated with ETL approach through an API, and Arango has been really thought about that concept of having an API where you can ingest different types of data, but also through pipelines like Kafka or any other type of integration pipeline to which you're going to be able to ingest the system. And since we're Usually we're working in a fairly distributed environment, heterogeneous environment. Of course, you'll need to have sufficient flexibility to be able to connect using different technology stacks, different types of drivers that could be, depending on the people or the vendors you're working with, will provide you some Java connectors or .NET connectors or Node.js connectors or HTTP connectors or Kafka and so on and so on. So you need to be able to have a sufficient flexible stacks that will allow you to embrace all this technology challenge with having multiple and polyglot system. And of course, as I said earlier, it is important to give the choice about how you want to manage your data. Some people may want to manage their data internally because of privacy or security of data, but some may want also to manage that through the cloud, through a managed system. And no matter what, you need to be able to provide that flexibility for people that wants to manage that on a regular and traditional virtual machines or in containerized environments such as OpenShift on Kubernetes, or even as a managed solution or an hybrid solution located somewhere in a cloud provider. And therefore, this is why Arango is providing this wide range of deployments that you can choose, going from really on-prem system, clustered or non-clustered, to a highly managed system in any cloud of your choice through the three main cloud providers to any location of your choice within these cloud providers.